All right, so the only thing cooler than recording with one Kemper profiler is recording with two Kemper profilers in a dual amp setup. But when I first got my second profiler, I quickly realized that the issue that came up was a phasing problem, right? It takes a certain amount of time for the signal to get through one profiler. Let's say, in this case, I have a nice clean sound with a lot of delay and reverb on it. Okay, so I'm going to pick an arbitrary number, and let's say it takes 2.6 milliseconds for the sound to get through that amp. That's going to cause a phasing problem with my second amp, which is just a simple, overdriven amp, just with just a slight amount of reverb on it. Now, when they're played together at the same time, oh, that sounds amazing. But there's going to be a phasing problem because let's say it takes 2.6 milliseconds for the signal to get through the first amp, and we'll say 2 milliseconds for the signal to get through the second amp. There's going to be a little bit of a problem. And when you listen to this, I have it panned at about 50%. Hopefully you can hear it on your computer speakers. If not, definitely put it up on your main studio speakers. You'll hear it. There's a bit of a phasing issue, which makes you kind of cock your head a little bit. It's just not quite right. But we can fix that. All right, before I forget, let me explain to you how I'm connecting both Kempers, how I'm routing the signal between them. The guitar is going into my pedal board, which is then going into Kemper number 1, which is my black Kemper. That signal is being processed. It's a clean sound that's going out the main output to a preamp. But I'm also routing the direct guitar signal out the direct output to Kemper number 2. Okay, and I'm going into Kemper number 2 via the alternate input. And I'm just doing that simply because I don't want to wrap a cable all the way around to the front. I'm also keeping the cable runs as short as I can. Then, of course, the second Kemper is being processed. That's an overdriven sound, and that is going to my second preamp. Okay, now to make sure the routing is correct within the Kemper, I'm going to go to Kemper 1 and I'm going to select Output. I'm going to make sure that I'm on page 1 of 7. And I'm going to go to where it says Direct Output, and I want to make sure that says Guitar Analog. All right. Once we have that selected, then we're going to go down to our second unit, and we're going to select Input. And we're going to make sure that the input source is the alternative input. Now, if you wanted to wrap it around to the front input, right there, you just make sure that your input source is the front input. That's all. But since we are not using that, we're going to use the alternative input. All right. That's the internal routing for both units. All right, so that's one simple way to route through the profilers. But another option would be to say, have your guitar go into a splitter and split one path to your pedal board, and then run your pedal board into one of the profilers, and then just your clean guitar sound into the other one. So really the options are limitless. It's up to you however you want to run your rig. That's just a basic routing through both units. But now let's dive into how to fix this phasing problem. Now, to make sure that there's no phasing issues between both units, we need to go into the System menu for both Kempers, scroll over to page 4, and underneath the first soft button, you'll see a setting that says Constant Latency. Make sure that's selected. That's all you need to do. So the constant latency is a little over 4 milliseconds, but you really can't feel it at all. But once you select it, no more phasing problems. It just sounds perfect and wonderful. And at this point, really the options are limitless in where you want to go with it and the sounds you want to use and all the cool things you want to do with it. So have fun with that. That's been a fantastic feature for me as I've been writing a lot of music and recording on a lot of films and television shows, and this is just incredible. What a way to get a huge guitar sound instantly. So have fun with that, and we'll see you soon.